Now, let me begin by telling us we are talking about Passover. Passover, that is the title. If we are in obedience, if we remain obeying Yahweh as He commands us, Passover will be meaningful. Passover, the language of Passover, the knowledge in Passover, the instruction of Passover will be meaningful to the hearer. And the hearer will understand what it is. What is this that is called Passover? Yahweh explained it to them. Yahweh explained it to them. Let's quickly run through what this understanding is in His word. In His word, His message, He asked them to hold on to, which is this covenant way. Exodus chapter 12, I read from verse 1 there, Exodus chapter 12. Now, Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month, which is the month we are into. Now, the month of Yahweh, these people came, the Gentile world, they came, particularly Gregorian calendar, that carved out what they called, the new world calendar. Daniel predicted that they will do that. Daniel chapter 7:25 did say that, yes, they will change time and season and the law of Yahweh, they will do all those, which is part of what they did. We can see that in today's world. They said their new year began January, which is not true. Our new year began 14 days ago, about 14 days ago, which was March 30th. That March 30th is what Yahweh is describing in verse 2 here. And in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1, we're going to read it. Yahweh is describing, I'm going to use 2 translations or more even translations to let us know what Yahweh is talking about. Now let's go on. He said, now this month shall be a beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Now, what is he talking about? What is the beginning of months? That is the month of Abib in Hebrew. In Aramaic language, it is called Nisan. Now, that is, in our time, we see it as the period of springtime. But what exactly in spring? Because spring stretches for almost 3 months. So at what point of the spring or time of the spring is he talking about? Yahweh told us. Deuteronomy chapter 16, he said, in honor of Yahweh, your father, celebrate the Passover each year in the early spring, in the month of Abib. Deuteronomy 16, verse 1. For that was the month in which Yahweh your father brought you out of Egypt by night. So you have to commemorate it. You have to keep it. You have to observe it. You have to honor Yahweh. For that is the night Yahweh fought the battle on the heads of our forefathers that extend to us, whereby they were saved from captivity from Egypt, and they were taken out of the hands of Pharaoh, out of the hands of the Egyptians that were afflicting them, persecuting them, killing them, and Yahweh by his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, brought them out from that land. It was at the time of Abib, month of Abib. in the early spring. So we do know, because some people celebrate early. I was watching one man that was discussing about Passover in the night, and he talked about celebrating his Passover 1st of April, April 1st. And if he began his celebration April 1st, it means he would have counted 14 days back. So his first, because these feasts are determined by new moon. And that's why in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, Yahweh emphasized that moon, sun, and all those signposts of our season, of our time, what we must be doing at every point in time. So it's like Yahweh put them as the clock in the horizon there to help us time ourselves. This is what you'll be doing at this particular point in time. This is what you'll be doing at this particular point in time. Particularly when you see the moon come up. That's why we thank Yahweh each new moon. Yahweh commands us that we thank him each new moon. And when we call on that meeting, people don't turn up. Our members don't turn up. Obedience is counted, is documented. And when the chiefs are down, somebody's name will be looked or checked out whether he's obeying.
Amen.
Brethren, what we are saying is cumulative. It's all about what you have to be doing now, so that when the time of deliverance we showcase itself, then what you've been doing will determine whether you are to be delivered or not. Obedience is going to showcase so many things. Obedience is going to bring approval of somebody to be delivered or not. So we find out that new moon becomes what you use to measure when to start. So the new moon in the early spring is the one that we find between March and April. And March and April new moon fell on the 30th. You see how it is calculated, how it is looked at. Yahweh will name it, and Yahweh will ask you to put eyes on the new moon, or the new moon that we showcase, or the new month. In English, it's called month. Now, it's, by understanding, it's moon. Moon or month, they're the same. So now, Yahweh used moon to count the months, the month counting. 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. That's how Yahweh made it. But they changed it. Some are 28 or 29, some are 30, some are 31. That is the worldly, that is how they changed it, twisted everything. At the end of the day, they messed everybody up. But if you follow the timetable of Yahweh, the calendar of Yahweh, you will not miss it. And you will not miss a call for salvation, for freedom. If you are diligent, that is for those who are obedient, who are following the instruction. Those who are not following will miss it. Even when they are told that this is the time, they will argue with you, they will overturn you, they will drive you away. And that's why we talk about Lot's wife missing her life. We talked about sons-in-law of Lot that would have joined and followed and walked out of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why we are laughing at, they were laughing at Lot when Lot was telling them this is what is about to happen. Because Yahweh has set everything, mapped out everything from here, his instructions, from his word. So those who are not keying will argue their heart, their life out and say you are wrong. Those whom Yahweh called, he has deposited in them his truth, his way. And when they follow it, they will not miss it. So we see that the month of Abib is the month we have to watch out. Mount Abib is around this March, April. And what determines that March, April is the early spring. Early spring. So when we see the month falling within that early spring, or the new moon that comes up, we now know that, yes, this is what the time the Passover begins. And Passover is the first of all the feasts of Yahweh. And it is for reason. It's the time he passed over Israelites from destroying them. Then because he gave also a marker, a sign, where the blood, which was the sign they will have to signpost at the lintel of their door. If any family will not present or mark their door with that blood of the lamb or sheep or goat killed, that the angel of destruction will enter that family, and every one or every entity that is firstborn, whether it's human or animal, will be destroyed if the house is not marked. Can see what obedience has been doing in the word of Yahweh, that people must abide. And people say, how can we obey? It's very, but I ask you a question. The worldly laws and rules that are so terrible, so strict, people do everything they can to obey it in order not to fall into the hands of the law or the government. They try to do it so that they will live peaceable life. But when it comes to Yahweh's law, they say, it's rigid, it's so hard, it's so tough. That grace eliminates it. That's where Yahweh is annoyed. That's where Yahweh is angry. And Yahweh will expunge such names from the book of life. So we must be very careful not to follow the teachings of the worldly people. In the days of Noah, Noah did everything to preach this good news. They didn't hear. Abraham, the same. Lot, the same. In the days of Israelites through wilderness, Moses taught them the same. Many perished. All those that left Egypt, none of them survived the wilderness experience. None of them survived it. Only those born from 20 years old, moving forward, were able, and those that were born in the wilderness, those were the people that entered the land of Israel. Only them. All others perished except two, Caleb and Joshua. All of that perished. Imagine that. That means they died in their millions in the wilderness. A whole generation, 40 years is enough to be a generation, were wiped out, plus those that the elderly ones that followed from Egypt. None of them survived. Why? Because of disobedience. Adam and Eve failed because of disobedience. People in the days of Noah were plunged into delusion, to flood, disaster that swept them away because of disobedience. In Egypt, Yahweh dealt with Egypt, overthrew Egypt because of disobedience. Yahweh brought his people out. Good thing, in this Passover, it showcased that none of Israelites were destroyed. Not even a single animal was destroyed from their home because they obeyed. That's only one time I could see in the Bible the entire Israelites obeyed completely. Then when they entered into the wilderness, they became something different. Rebellion, spirit of rebellion. Now let's go on. Now we have identified Abib, when to start Passover. So Passover is the time to kill the lamb. Let us see. Yahweh now prescribed how this is going to take place. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. A lamb, pick a lamb, can be a goat, can be sheep, but pick something that Yahweh recommended. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the persons, according to each man's need. You shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish. Because this is signposting, this is shadowing, this is showcasing, this is pointing to Yeshua that is coming. Going to be pure, going to be clean. Righteousness is his name, righteousness is his way. Must be pure, must be clean. So Yahweh in advance was positing what is to come, what Israelites are to expect in their life, what Yahweh has planned. This is a plan. All the feasts, Passover inclusive to Feast of Tabernacle, the all master plan of Yahweh, showcasing how Israelites are going to be led by their leader, Yeshua. And their leader is going to sacrifice his life for them to deliver them from the captivity, bondage of Satan and sin. That is the reason for what we are reading. That is the reason for what you are doing. Then if you are not obedient, if you are not following, how will you be delivered? How will you be saved in these latter days? Tell me. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 19. But with the precious blood of Messiah Yeshua HaMashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. You see that? This is New Testament. This is Shaul, the disciple of Yeshua, telling us how this feast must be done because it points to the Messiah himself. So the sheep or the lamb is Yeshua himself. But here is presented, captured in such a way that even the fathers of old, well, some of them may know that one will come Sunday to deliver the children of Israelites as their leader. But then, this is the setting. And that setting is not erased. We are still following it because when Yeshua came, he continued from there. The only difference is the lamb. He now became the lamb. That is the only difference. In terms of keeping it, in fact, Yeshua made it in an easier way that it has to be with his flesh and the blood, which means the unleavened bread, which is the symbol of his flesh, and the wine, the fruit vine, which is the symbol of blood, his blood. So if we take these two, suffices. It covers all that they did in Egypt. That's what we are called to do. So here we read out how they are going to do it, how they are going to, prepare themselves and kill the animal on the 14th day. Let's see where it is written. Okay, let us see verse 6 there. Now you shall keep it until 14th day of the same month of Abib, that is evening of today. We are talking about evening of today. Evening of today will be that 14th day, because the count began on the 30th. So 14th will be this evening. This evening we are entering a new day in Yahweh's count. Yahweh's day begins in the evening. Now, then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. So towards sunset or sundown, they will kill it. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the two doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. So the house where they dwell and where they eat the Passover meal, is that door will be marked with blood. It's for a reason, for their safety, for their freedom, for their liberation, for their salvation, so that the killer angel, the angel that will be destroying and slaughtering those who have been persecuting and destroying them, will not enter their own home to fish them to kill. Because every firstborn, whether human or animal, must die. That is the price that Pharaoh and his people has to pay for being disobedient to Yahweh. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the two doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. Then they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its entrails. You shall let none of it remain until morning, and what remains of it until morning you shall burn with fire. And thus you shall eat it with a belt on your waist, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is the Yahweh's Passover. Did you hear that? It is Yahweh's Passover you are eating. You are not just eating your ordinary meal. You are not just eating your daily bread. Yahweh's unrecommended and commanded meal. Special for your life, for your salvation. Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. Can you see who is executing the judgment? Yahweh. Did it just happen only in Egypt and ended in Egypt? In this latter days, Yahweh said, what will showcase then is going to envelop in this world. The world is going to let loose. Judgment is going to come upon it. Everything men had done will come into account. People will, account for their deeds. The call for obedience, they will account for it. Now the blood shall be a sign. Now, one thing that Yahweh said in the verse 12 that touched me is destroying the gods of Egypt. If those gods were not destroyed, Israelites wouldn't have come out. Then when I inquired about these gods, it's not only the gods of wood and stone and all that, the spirits behind their the clutches, behind their incarceration, behind their captivity, behind their bondage. Those spirits that walk through the wood and stone that the people bow to will be destroyed. Then the firstborn, humans, animals will be destroyed. To teach Pharaoh lesson, to teach the leaders of Egypt lesson, to teach the people of the land lesson, and at the end of the day, to ensure that the children of Israelites will learn lesson themselves. Yes, they learn a lot of lesson. And the same thing Bible said, Yahweh said in this latter days, he's going to reveal his name to the Israelites so that Israelites' works and activities and everything, by the time they are prepared to go home, the Gentiles will know that Israelites are the children of Yahweh, and they will recognize Yahweh. And they will know the power of Yahweh behind them, and they will submit. And people will, now that is when people will recognize what we are talking about. Not now. Time comes when Yahweh stands up for his people. Yahweh hasn't stood up, but Yahweh has begun the action already. Yes, by letting us know, like Sabbath, cue in, return back to Sabbath, return back to the instructions, begin to do them, like keeping these feasts, begin to follow Yahweh's instruction as it were, because all these are roadmaps. All this leads to the way. All this, Yeshua said, he is the way. All are pointed to Yeshua. But if you follow all these, we'll be in one with Yeshua and be ready to return back to Yahweh, where he will take us back to the land. Is it heaven? No. It's talking about the land. The land promised Abraham, Genesis chapter 12, remember, it hasn't been restored to them. It's been given to them, but they are not physically possessing it yet. They're not there. They're scattered all over the world. So the land is there for them to repossess. Then Yeshua is there to return, because Yeshua has been given, he has come and he has done the the big work that will showcase the deliverance. So all he's coming to do is to activate the power of Yahweh to bring them out. And as he brought Israelites out from Egypt, to activate that power that will bring them out, all Israelites who are in obedience to the land. So they are going to live in that land. They are going to secure that land. It's not going to heaven. There is nothing like rapture. I have read in those days when I was in Christianity, even as a teacher, pastor, I was teaching them there's rapture. Who told me? It was the leaders, commandments of men, teachings of men. I was following the instructions of elders. Teach it as they tell you. Say what they say. But now that my eyes is on the scriptures, reading it, I haven't picked rapture up. Because we are reading Passover here. Yahweh described and said everything about it. If Passover, if rapture is there, as Passover is described, so would he have described rapture. He would have identified, say it, this, vivid description of how people are going to be raptured, how particularly the angels or Yeshua or however they will go, and when they enter there, what they will be doing. Tell me, if you are raptured, you are going to heaven, what will you be doing in heaven? Can't read it anywhere. You can't hear it anywhere. You can't even see the word rapture in the Bible. They concocted and, made all those things look. They take one phrase or one word or the other. They say it is rapture. What did it teach? What is this showcasing? What is the promise behind it? Nothing. Right from Genesis, we read about these promises of Yahweh restoring them back to the land. That is what is given. And from there, then the kingdom will be built as Yeshua return. He will return in that land, Jerusalem being the capital and the whole capital of the world. The entire world will have Jerusalem as their capital. How many people are preparing that? Do you know that the Gentiles know this better than you do? That's why these world leaders are fighting for Jerusalem. They want to occupy it from America to United Kingdom to Russia to the whole world. And everybody wants to go to Jerusalem, do you know? But they don't know why they are hopping and want to go to Jerusalem. Even the leaders want to occupy it. Donald Trump is envisaging or talking about building Jerusalem, expanding it to Gaza and so on and so forth. Do you know why? They are interested. That is what you are reading here. You don't know. You that have the Torah, the book, the history of Israel, you don't know about your history. But these people, they know. But we will know who owns it. The time is coming. They will be struggling. When the beasts eventually come, their big master, when their big master eventually land, he's going to sit there. He's going to have his throne there. And he's going to command and control and take over the temple that they're going to build or wherever they're going to worship. And before you know it, he will commit everybody to submit to him, to worship him, to bow to him. And Revelation chapter 14 will be activated. Those who bow to the beast will pay the price. Sulfur and brimstone and fire will eat them up. But those who are obedient and said, no. If they want to butcher me. I'm waiting for Yeshua. But Revelation chapter 12 said, don't worry, don't fear. He will protect you. He will lead you out of the eyes and hands of the butcher, the beast. As he led Israelites out from Egypt. Revelation chapter 12 is clear about it. So it's not here just talking about Exodus 12, where Israelites were bailed out or brought out into the wilderness. Israelites are going to go into wilderness again when the beast will take over the land and space of this earth. When the beast will stand more than Pharaoh, act more than Pharaoh, more than Nebuchadnezzar. As Nebuchadnezzar made idol and asked Israelites to worship in Babylon, they are going to do it again. As Pharaoh commanded them with all his gods and was submitting everybody, no. The true Israelites will say no. And Yahweh will come handy to take them away. And he hide them in the wilderness. Ezekiel chapter 20, 33 to 46 is clear about it. Isaiah told us, Isaiah chapter 11, from 11 to 16, told us that Israelites will crisscross the waters, the seas, and they will enter the land. Yahweh is about, what you are reading here called Passover, is about to showcase again. So what you are reading here, you can tap it in the book of Daniel, you can tap it in the book of Revelation. Is about to evolve again. It's about to showcase again in a massive scale, because Israelites are going to be in their billions. But Yahweh says that only few will be saved. Only few make it to the wilderness, because they are the people listening to his instruction. They will hear his voice at that time. They will see his command. They will follow his leaders, those whom he will appoint to lead them, and they will recognize them as their leaders. Because those who do not hear the word of Yahweh today, even at that time, they will hate the word, and they will not even allow the word to enter their ears. So how will they follow that instruction to be freed? What happened in the days of the fathers will be a child's play compared to what is about to happen. Now, they have to take the blood and put it at the lintel of the door. On and on, he went on, and he said, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. So unleavened bread, what is unleavened bread? Now, Yahweh didn't say just bread alone that is leavened. So, you shall eat unleavened. Anything, verse 15, anything leavened shall not enter your mouth for 7 days. Not that leavened foods are evil or wicked or bad. No, he didn't say so. But he's using leaven to teach us what sin is all about, how sin behaves. Sin puff up, sin blows, sin enlarges, sin expands, and sin destroys. When something is blown up more than its size, what happened? It blows it and destroys it. So that's what sin does. But do you know how? Not that sin is going to blow you like balloon, then you become big. And no, it's talking about the spirit behind what is called sin that will lead the person to where he's going to be destroyed. It doesn't stop. Continue to lead until that person is blown out. That's what Yahweh is teaching us. 11. So within the 7 days, Yahweh said, anything that has food that is leavened, that has yeast or reagents of, elements of those yeast things, don't eat them. Not that yeast is not good to eat, it's good to eat, but because of its activity, learn of how it behaves. Now, separate yourself momentarily within 7 days. Then, after that 7 days, continue to eat your leavened. Okay. So, whether it's leavened bread or anything leavened, they will say, separate yourself from it for 7 days. So that's what he's saying in verse 15 there. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. You see, he mentioned it twice. Unleavened bread you shall eat for 7 days. Now, he specifically identified that word, leaven. So it cut across anything eatable that is leavened. You shall not eat for that 7 days. Amen. That is the instruction. It's clear. For whoever eats, listen very carefully. For whoever eats. Now, this is mark of disobedience. And Yahweh will put it in the book. Will the person die immediately? No. Will the person be crushed immediately? No. It's marked. It's a record. That when the chips are down, when the troubles envelopes, when evil is on the horizon, when affliction and persecution shall come, when the destroyer shall be on board, that person will be remembered for his disobedience. And the person will not. You see, that is what Yahweh did in Egypt, is to draw Israelites in obedience. Whatever he instructs you to do, do. It's not necessarily about the Passover and the meal they are in, but behind the meal is about obedience. It's like teaching Abraham, follow me and be ye blameless. What he's saying is, Abraham, learn the way of obedience, follow it so that you have righteousness of Yahweh in you. When anything is coming to override you, overtake you, destroy you, Yahweh will stand for you. Yahweh will step in. You'll be protected. That is exactly what Passover is all about. So Passover is chasing obedience. It's looking for men who are going to listen to Yahweh's instructions, follow, do it. Because Yahweh is going to be with you when the troubles are down, when the troubles are going to chase human beings. And Yahweh can never have anything to do with a disobedient person. So how will Yahweh come in to defend you, to fight for you? Angels will not come. Delivering angels, ministering angels, yes. Because when the chiefs are down, Yahweh is going to send them to do the work. The Spirit guiding. That's what he's saying. So for whoever is leavened bread, from the first day until the seventh day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. That person shall be cut off. Cut off is do away, terminate, eliminate. We say it as it is, because that is the word of Yahweh. That is what he commanded me to do. Verse 16. On the first day, there shall be a holy convocation. That is, now after we have eaten this meal, the first day he's counting now will be the beginning of unleavened bread, that day of unleavened bread. And that today is what? 12th. In the evening of today, we will enter the 13th day. So after the 13th day, which is the Passover, the first day of this unleavened bread will be day 1 on 14th. Are you getting it? On 14th. So after 13, the unleavened bread, Passover is passed, then the evening, beginning the unleavened bread feast, we commence the counting of leaven not seen in our houses for 7 days. But even the Passover meal is going to be celebrated with unleavened bread. I will say the mark begins this evening. So remove anything removable. Make sure by this evening everything is out. On the first day, there shall be a holy convocation. So on that beginning of unleavened bread, we begin the commemoration of this feast with service in the morning. And we usually start our feast days by 11 o'clock in the morning. So we will begin by 11 o'clock in the morning. And on the 7th day, there shall be a holy convocation for you. So run through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6th day. The 7th day shall be a Shabbat day. Shall be a work-free day. It shall be a service day, convocation. That means you have to gather and worship. Yeah, we say day of worship. And on the 7th day, there shall be a holy convocation for you. No manner of work shall be done on them. So it's a work-free day. No work, no buying and selling, no trading. You don't go buy, you don't go sell. What you would, on all those Shabbat day, make sure a day before you would have gathered their food. Like yesterday, Friday, we gathered the food we eat today, Shabbat. Then we can buy on the days that Sabbath, whether weekly or annual, Sabbath doesn't fall in within the feast days. Don't know whether we are getting it.
On the feast day.
On those feast days, you can buy, you can sell. But then you must be careful so that you don't avoid the feast. But if there is Sabbath, you make sure you don't buy, you don't sell, you don't work. That is Yahweh's command. So if I were you, within the 8 days, including Passover, plus the 7 days, you should keep it for Yahweh. You keep it for Yahweh. So no work within that particular time. 17, verse 17 there says, oh no, not finished 16. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which everyone must eat, that only may be prepared by you. So if we have said tomorrow, today is Shabbat, weekly Shabbat, you don't cook today. You don't cook. But you would have cooked yesterday. So today, if you want, if the weather is cold, you can warm it and eat. But don't cook. Cooking is different from, get your food, warm it. Cooking, you need preparation. It's work. Cooking is work. People go and learn cooking in schools, and come out as food technologists and come out as, chef and so on and so forth. So you don't begin to run helter-skelter, run houses. Remember, Yeshua was in the house of, who was that? That's his friend, Lazarus, the sister Mary and Martha. And they said Martha was too busy running up and down doing the, assuming that day was Shabbat, we should be doing that? No. I think that day wasn't Shabbat day. So you can see the point I'm making there is that cooking takes lots of houses, running up and down, preparation. In fact, you'll be sweating even in the kitchen. I know my wife was in the kitchen yesterday. She was really sweating. I said, continue. Yahweh is your strength. I was doing my own side of the thing. So the truth remains that we must listen to Yahweh. It's for our own good, though. It's for our own good. So, but if I cook that day, if I strength, Yahweh say, don't cook. Yahweh know you have strength, you have energy, you can cook, but he say, don't cook. Listen to him.
Can I have a question, please?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about not cooking and kindling of fires on the Sabbath day. How are we going to cook the lamb?
I think I have explained. Okay, it was Sandra that asked that question. I think I explained it to her. Yes, I have made an attempt to explain it to us to some point. If we watch some of our videos, kindling of fire is the issue that you can, if you read it in that Exodus 35, verse 3, what you hear is, it is Sabbath day, don't kindle fire. But if you don't take it from the context of balancing it from where it began, remember, Yahweh asked Moses to build ark, to build, what was that again? Tabernacle. And all that. And all that has to do with firing iron, metals, melting them, some silver, some gold. You have to fire them to mold, make them, in a way that they can use it to design whatever they were designing. Now, history told us that what Israelites were doing in the wilderness at that time, because they were happy, even when Yahweh said, oh, contribute, gather. Moses tell the children of Israel to bring materials they are going to use to do the ark, do the tabernacle and everything. They were happy, they were joyous, they over-contributed, they over-donated. That Moses was saying, it's too much, take them back. We have enough. Now, with that enthusiasm, with that joy that Yahweh is saying, I'm going to build a house where I'm going to come in and dwell with you. They were quick to do that. So what they were doing was to say, even on Friday, when they have to end their work at sunset in the evening, they had to extend it. And when they asked, they say, it's work of Yahweh. We are happy doing the work of Yahweh and all that. They have encroached the law. They are, disobeying the law of Sabbath. That immediately sun goes down, you stop work. So they continued. And Yahweh had to prompt Moses and said, Moses, these people are destroying the Shabbat. I know that they're doing my work, but then they should stop. At a point of stoppage, they stop. So Moses had to call them in Exodus 35. I think it's Exodus 35. Let's read it. Let me be very sure so that I'm not making a mistake in quoting that. Okay, that is Exodus 35, verse 3 there. He reminded them in verse 12. He said, work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to Yahweh. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. That is Sabbath, that on the Sabbath day we don't work. The person is writing death sentence on his head. That is, they already know that. Then verse 3 there, Moses now began to speak this language to remind them that they are encroaching on the Sabbath day by still firing on all those iron metals, that they're going to use and doing the designs and all that, because they were saying we work for Yahweh. We are pleased to work for Yahweh. Even when we encroach, they thought encroaching in the Sabbath will not, will not bring or cause rebellion. But Yahweh says it's rebellion, they should stop. So he said, that fire that we are kindling, that fire that we are burning, they should stop. So that's why you see that verse 3 mentioned there. You shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I heard your explanation last week as well to Sandra. But so are you saying then that was for that time, that they would not kindle a fire for that time, but now that we can kindle fire on the Sabbath? What are you saying?
Yeah, kindling of fire came only in that particular place, addressing what
okay,
the people, I'm coming. Addressing what the people were doing that was encroaching on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
The kindling of fire was not mentioned any other place.
Exactly.
Look at from Genesis chapter 12.
Yeah. So it does not apply today.
No. Afterwards, I came out this morning, I switched on my light. Is it not kindling fire?
Exactly. So we can cook today.
So
we can cook today.
I walked through the snow. I came back. My hands are dead. My legs are dead. I can't boil small water to warm my body down. Is that what Yahweh is saying? You see, they messed up Sabbath.
Exactly.
The Jewish people messed up Sabbath. They read so much into Sabbath that they produced 55 or 66 laws on Sabbath, which Yahweh never commanded. And Yeshua accosted them and told them, why are you using this to rope the people, to destroy the people? Sabbath is not meant to use this something to. What Yahweh commanded is work. Work is work. Don't go and earn money. Don't go and fetch wood. Don't go and begin to do all those things that is work. We know anything that is work. We know what is work. Don't do it now. That's what Yahweh cleared us from, and our own pleasure. We should not do.
Listen. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying to you now is we can kindle fire now. We can cook now on the Sabbath day. That was for that time, not for now.
Even at that, let's have the understanding. At that time, the explanation to the people, the fathers.
You've already said that. You've already said this several times.
Yes. So for I and you today, for what I do, as I understand the scripture, unless the Spirit says otherwise, and I believe that I'm speaking from the point of view of the Spirit, that what I read and what is stated is that my food I eat, I will cook it on the Friday.
How are you going to cook the lamb tonight then?
Sorry?
How are you going to cook the lamb today?
No. That is what Yahweh told me.
Yes.
Just a minute. You're ahead of what you are talking about. We are talking about this candle of fire. We need to understand it. You have understood that now, fine. But let us talk about this cooking. On the feast days, Yahweh exempted us from anything. We can cook. He authorized cooking. Yes, feast. Elder, he said feast day cook. But if it is weekly Shabbat, we are not allowed to cook on weekly Shabbat.
No. It doesn't say that anywhere.
Okay, all right. There's no debate about that, but this is for my take. For this feast, all the Shabbat days, we have to cook what we are to eat. But you would have gone to market and bought it at the normal days of
Yeah, I agree with that.
You don't have to go to it's all the same thing we are talking about, because cooking, if you say cooking, we can cook on the Sabbath day, we are saying you can work on the Sabbath day.
No, I disagree.
Exemption. Mike, we will look at this later. I'm going to show you from the scriptures.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It is on the Sabbath day, we are not meant to cook, but we can warm the cooked food to eat.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Then the feast.
We are allowed to cook.
We are allowed. Okay, let me read
exactly.
for you. Let me read for you. I think verse
only what you can eat.
Verse 20 there. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your dwellings. You shall verse, what is that?
I'm trying to find it. Only what you can eat on the Sabbath day.
Is on verse 16 there. No manner of work shall be done. No manner of work shall be done on them. Is same work. We know that. But that which everyone must eat, that is on the feast days, even the Sabbath of feast days, that only may be prepared by you. So that day you prepare, we cook. But we must have bought the items in. So we prepare and cook. It's only allowed on the feast days.
Yeah,
now, let us look at Leviticus 23, verse 2.
The Sabbath is a feast day, though.
Sorry?
The weekly Sabbath is a feast day as well.
Yes, weekly Sabbath.
So we can cook.
It's asking when is double Sabbath.
What I know is that regular Sabbath, we are not allowed to cook. But Sabbath that fall on the feast day, we are allowed to cook because of preparing all those things. Like he's talking about roasting the meat and all those stuff. You can cook. Yahweh understands what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. So it is clear. Let us look at Leviticus 23, verse, what is that? Verse, Leviticus 23, verse 2, verse 7 and 8. 23, verse 2, which is the Sabbath day, speaking to the children of Israel, and said to them, the feast of Yah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocation. These are my feasts. Remember, these are, he's talking about weekly Sabbath. Then, and other annual Sabbaths that are into it. All of them are Yahweh's, but he told us what we should be doing in terms of cooking and eating. Now, verse 7, on the first day you shall have a holy convocation, you shall do no customary work on it. Verse 8, but you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh for 7 days. The 7th day shall be a holy convocation, you shall do no customary work on it. Well, there is other places. I will fetch them out and maybe I will send them through our WhatsApp, where he talked about this holy day, whereby we can cook what we eat. It should be on this holy day of feast, where we have Sabbath, is allowed to do that. Any other time, it's not allowed, but we can warm our food on the weekly Shabbat day. Right, where are we? Going back to Exodus chapter 12. I'm almost done by that. I'm almost done. Just to let us follow specifically the commanded instruction. Let's look at verse 24. And you shall observe this thing as an ordinance for you and your sons forever. Did you hear that? You must observe. This is ordinance. This is law of Yahweh. We are commanded to keep it from generation to generation. That is what Yahweh commanded. If you look at verse 17 there, it says, so you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this same day I will have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting ordinance. Everlasting ordinance is compulsory. We obey Yahweh. Look at chapter 13, verse 5. Yahweh said, and it shall be when Yahweh your father brings you into the land of Canaan, the land where called Israelites today, Israel land, and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. So it's a command that they shall be keeping it at this particular time. It's a command. Yahweh has instructed it. Now, verse 10 of chapter 13 there, it says, you shall therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. Amen. So it is Yahweh's command, it's regulation, ordinance, instruction that they will never backslide every year. And he said generally that every year your children shall present themselves, your male children shall present themselves before Yahweh. So this is a command given to all Israelites to follow. And they kept this instruction. They did not fail to keep it. And the whole multitude of Israelites, verse 38 says, Exodus 12:38 says, a mixed multitude went up with them also, and flocks and herds, a great deal of livestock. Now, not only Israelites came out, those who desire and delight in what Israelites were doing, we knew that Israelites were true children of Yahweh. Those Egyptians followed them. Mixed multitude, and that mixed multitude caused them problem because Israel, the Egyptians were not grounded in the Torah of Yahweh, the instructions of Yahweh. Almost 30 years, Israelites were learning from Moses, from Aaron, even in Egypt before they left. In the wilderness, they also understudied, the instruction of Yahweh for 40 years. This mixed multitude brought so much. Even the idol that they created in the wilderness, the calf they made, they called Elohim, which they bowed. At the end of the day, it was the hand of the Egyptians was part and parcel of what happened. And they convinced them to make that idol, and the children of Israel worshipped because they never forget what Egypt was made of. Idol, Elohim, gods, mighty ones. That is what Israel. Egypt is like calling Babylon, Babel. It's land of idol, the gate of gods. So they made them to worship idol in the wilderness, and all of them that were involved were swept away. Today, what is happening? Idol everywhere. Christianity, idol is what they worship as Lord. As what is Lord? Baal. Nimrod staged it, started it. That is what Christianity bowed to. That is what they worship. In Israel, they call it Elohim, Hebrew. God in English. That's what they worship. Yahweh said, no, that should not be. Yahweh gave us his name. Why are we struggling to find out the truth, to know the truth? You see, the Elohim that we are worshiping in Egypt, Yahweh said he destroyed them. So if Yahweh is Elohim, why will he destroy Elohim himself or who? Or what? Verse 40. Still reading Exodus 12, verse 40. Now, the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Egypt was 430 years. You see that Yahweh promised Abraham that by the time the descendants will be 400 years in Egypt, he will bring them out. Then why did they stay 30 years on top of the 400 years? Have you asked? That is what is still happening today. Now, Yahweh is letting us know who he is. His name and everything is reintroducing, bringing us back to himself. Not many people are agreeing with him. This struggle will continue. We don't know how long. Yahweh has mapped out. Some people had made some calculation talking about 1619, when transatlantic slave trade will take place. After that will be 400 years. And that 400 years is about 2019. Clock 200 years, 400 years. Brethren, if you are working from that angle, from that 2019 going forward, we don't know when. So we don't know how many years will top up. Then Yeshua will intervene. By that time, the enemy will come on board, the beast. Remember, the beast wanted to showcase 2020, 2019, 2020. Remember the what is it? The COVID. The COVID wasn't ordinary. It wasn't ordinary pestilence. It wasn't ordinary disease. It was act of the works of the beast to come on board, preparing the minds of people for control. He wanted, you see, whatever he's doing, he first of all catch the whole world, control them, bring them to the fore. And before you know it, everybody will queue in. So control will be the order of the day. But then those who are not hearing what you are hearing today, they'll be caught up in the control. I mean, they'll be caught up and they will follow suit. And at the end of the day, they will do the bidding of the beast and they will fall prey. So we don't know how long all this will happen. And let's quickly conclude by mentioning what is in verse 43 then. And Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. No foreigner shall eat it. Now, of all that Yahweh is saying, since Yahweh now has stated those who will eat it and those who will not eat it. If you are not baptized today, that is equivalent of what Yahweh is saying here. No foreigner. He went on in verse 44, says, but every man's servant who is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then he may eat it. So the kind of baptism they knew that time was circumcision. But then beyond circumcision, when Yeshua came, he instituted baptism. Both circumcision and baptism, any man who is not circumcised, who is not baptized in Yeshua, will not be part of the feast. That is the setting. That is the standard, even in this New Testament. So all we need to do is to pay attention so that as this passing over, because the passing over will be carried out again. Passing over will be carried out again. All that we are reading here is all showcasing what will happen in future. Joel chapter 2:32 says, those that will be saved in the latter days are those that call upon the name of Yahweh. Do you know the whole thing that you are talking about is Yahweh, Yahweh. Now, Yeshua being the key, the decider, the savior that is going to carry us along. Are we obedient to the word of the Father that is going to showcase, salvation? It's going to help us to achieve Yahweh's purpose, Yahweh's plan. We must be clear. Our ears must hear his instruction, obey it for us to be saved. Are you preparing yourself in keeping the weekly Sabbath, the annual feasts, where also you have Sabbath inside it? And these feasts are meant to, Yahweh use them to, teach us, instruct us, show us those things that are hidden. The secret thing belongs to children of Yahweh. When they come in obedience like this, Yahweh reveal those things that the world doesn't know, that they should know, and get ready, because the time is almost on hand. The time is almost up. We need to get prepared. Forget about the human politics, human democracy, human whatever the lions and bears and caterpillars and whatever are telling you out there, promising you Eldorado. The days of man are numbered. That is what the heaven is saying. That's what the spirit of Yahweh is saying. May we be obedient. May we never be caught up in the trouble that is coming. And may we escape when judgment will hit the earth. In Yeshua's name. Hallelujah. Amen. The Lord bless you.